share your screen.
Okay.
And
all right.
we are live right now. Hi.
Hello. So, all right. So the other link is the one that we're going to be using though, right?
That's the one for the attendees to use.
Got it. Okay, so this will stay as it is.
Yep, you don't have to worry about switching or anything like that. You should be good here.
Got it. Okay, great. Well,
I just want to say hi, Taylor. I'll be your interpreter for today. Looking forward to working with you and interpreting for you. So,
guys, thank you for being here. That is awesome. I will, if you ever need me to like repeat myself or anything like that, feel free to just like wave me down.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I worked with JARC in like the Metro Detroit area, so I would regularly have an interpreter in my sessions there, but it's been a minute, so nice to have another face. All right. So is this an okay view? You can see my space okay?
This looks, yep, okay. This looks great.
Okay.
We are live and broadcasting right now, so we do have attendees that are starting to join us. Welcome. We are just getting a few things in order, so bear with us as you hear some of the background talk as we're getting started here, folks.
Great.
So Taylor, just as a reminder, I'm going to do an intro for you, an intro for the session, and then I'll do a closing also where I have your contact information to share with everyone as well. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. I'll also help with moderating any questions or things that may be in the chat, and we can just kind of work through it, and I'm just super excited about today.
Amazing. So will I be able to, at the end, if people do want to share, be able to like promote someone to a panelist and then kind of put them back as an attendee, or are we just going to avoid that?
I don't know that they can share when they are a panelist. I think they have to be made a co-host in order to share their screen. They can talk as a panelist, but you can't share your screen as a panelist.
Okay, even their video they wouldn't be able to show?
They have to be a co-host in order to do that.
Got it. Okay. Okay, well, we can just keep it like a verbal share, like a chat share.
Okay.
So that works.
They can always drop a picture in the chat.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, and then even instead of sharing at the end, we can just have like a little bit extra time for like Q&A too, which I think is good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I am going to share my screen so we can get ready to kick this off here in about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Go. Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining today. We're going to get started right at the top of the hour. If you'd like, you can give us a hello in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from today. Great, looks like we got some folks from Lansing, Hillsdale, Saginaw. Welcome, welcome. Traverse City. Clinton Township.
That's awesome.
Detroit. Lansing, Vassar. Muskegon. Looks like we have a friend of another presenter that we have that will be joining us later in the series that's here. Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan and Monroe, Charlevoix, Bay City. We've got some great statewide representation here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Welcome, everyone. Grand Rapids, a joiner from. I know my family downstairs is going to be joining also from Grand Rapids. Great, we'll wait just a few more minutes just to get everything set up, and then let folks get in, and then we will get started.
Great.
Taylor, is there anything that they should have out and ready to go if they need to go and gather some supplies?
Yeah, so, and I can repeat this again as we get more people filtering in, but for today we will need at least a few pieces of paper. I have 3, even if you have like 2, that's fine, or 1, we could really make it work, but a couple pieces would be ideal. And then something round, like I have a lid from probably hummus, something else potentially, but some sort of round object. It could be a cup, something small, like this is probably about 3 inches, so nothing too big. So some sort of smaller, rounder, circular object. And then some things to draw with. So maybe you have a lot of things. I have like markers, colored pencils here, some oil pastels. Even if you just have a pen, we can make it work for today. So whatever you have, ideally if you have something to add color with, that'll help add some vibrancy to the work. But even if you draw it out today and then color it in later, that's fine too. So some paper, something round, something to draw with, and hopefully something to add color with. Yes. And that's all we need for today.
All right, well, it is the top of the hour, and I know that folks will probably still be joining us, but we want to be cognizant of everyone's time. So welcome today. We are so excited to kick off the second week of our Summer Resilience series with you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join. I can assure you that this hour will be well worth your time and really helping you to learn how to use art as a way to express yourself. My name is Erin Wallace. I am the lead outreach specialist with the Stay Well Grant Program, and I'll also be your moderator today. This series would not be able to take place without the wonderful partnership with the organizations that are listed here on this slide. Each of these organizations are supporting the series with their subject matter experts. Before we really begin, I'd like to share a little bit more about the Stay Well Grant Program that's bringing you this series today. The Stay Well Program is a federally funded free support service in place for Michiganders who have or are experiencing distress or anxiety as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our program features free 24/7 counseling services by calling our hotline. I'll share that number with you in the chat here briefly. Webinars that are tailored to specific groups, virtual support groups, and printed materials. You can find all of this and more on our website, which is michigan.gov/staywell. Research shows that it may take months or really even years for some people to recover emotionally from experiencing a disaster like the pandemic. And really, with this information in mind, we wanted to share a series that's focused on supporting mental wellness and strengthening our already present resilience by being kind to your mind. So a few housekeeping items before we begin. This session is being recorded and will be posted on the Stay Well website for future viewing. If you have questions or comments, please share these in the chat with us. Lastly, we really want to make this session interactive and are really looking forward to diving in with you. And without further ado, I am proud to introduce our presenter today, Taylor Beardsall. Taylor is a board certified art therapist, certified life coach, and yoga teacher with certifications as a yoga calm youth instructor, as well as a yoga medics. She provides creative mind-body services for individuals, groups, and organizations. Through these expressive approaches, Taylor supports clients in working through difficult emotions, gaining clarity, self-discovery, and creating actionable steps towards goals. She accompanies participants as a non-judgmental and fully present and supportive facilitator on their journey of using art making and movement for healing. Taylor is a founder and art therapist at Solstice Healing Arts Collective, an expressive arts therapy studio in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. So without further ado, Taylor, I'm going to let you kick it right off and take over here.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you everyone for joining in today. I'm really grateful to be with you all. So like Erin said, I am a board certified art therapist, and so that means I have specific master's level training in psychology and art therapy and using art making as a tool for healing, growth, and self-discovery. And I'm calling in today from my art therapy studio in Bloomfield Hills, where I see individual clients, and we also host groups and expressive arts workshops. So it's a really lovely space. And it's, you know, the beauty of what we're going to do today, though, which is going to be different than art therapy that you might do in the studio, is that you have access to materials, whether it's just a pen and paper, to tap into this creative healing potential on your own. So before we jump into the art making itself, I wanted to give a little bit more background about what art therapy is as a mental health modality. So essentially, art therapy is like you would maybe go see a talk therapist. You can come and see an art therapist. And the main tool that we use in art therapy to help work through emotional challenges, gain clarity on what's going on, set goals, understand how we're doing, what our experiences have meant to us, is we use art. We might use markers, colored pencils, clay, collage, you name it, and also anything that's in the studio is fair game. So using all these different materials to help us express what's going on internally. A lot of what we do in art therapy with the presence of an art therapist is to take what's going on inside, this internal experience, and create something tangible outside, whether that's the painting, the sculpture, the collage, whatever it is. And when we make something and we have a little bit of distance from it, it can help us understand what we were trying to express in a little bit of a different way. It can help us maybe see details or make connections that we didn't have access to initially. And that's where the art can serve as this really beautiful, somewhat magical third thing that can come into the therapeutic process. And so we can use art therapy to work through challenging emotions, express ourselves, gain a sense of mastery, decrease stress, decrease anxiety, improve self-confidence. A lot of the goals that you would maybe see a traditional therapist for are similar goals to art therapy. And in terms of Michigan, there's the credentialing body for art therapists nationally is the American Art Therapy Association, which is a really great resource to learn more about art therapy as a profession and resources about art therapy as well. And let me think what else I want to share with you all for today. Essentially, what makes art therapy different than like art class and what we're going to do today, what makes art therapy different than even what we're about to do together, is art therapy is when you are making art in the presence of an art therapist. So while we are all here together, this is more of an expressive arts session because you're kind of on your own. I can't see you. I can't really dig in with you about what's going on. So this is really using art for mindfulness, using art to express ourselves, but more of the goal-oriented, specific to your needs type of work that might happen in art therapy is really when it's more one-on-one or in a contained group setting where it's ongoing and there's that sense of confidentiality and privacy and the ability to kind of build on the work. So if you were interested in working with an art therapist, you might find an art therapist in the hospitals, treatment centers, addiction counseling, eating disorder clinics, schools. Some schools have art therapists now, which is really amazing. And private practice, like what I do. So if you ever have any questions, I know Erin's going to provide my email for my studio at the end of the session. You can totally reach out. And we'll also have some time for some Q&A at the end. But I wanted to jump in and get started with our art making because that's really, it's a very experiential type of a practice, whether it's, you know, drawing, painting, you really start to get a feel for it once you're doing it. So again, if you're just joining in, if you missed my little intro, welcome. For today, again, you will need a couple pieces of paper, something round, like about 3 inches. This is like a lid from something. A cup could work too. Something to draw with, whether it's a pencil or if you have more colors and tools at your disposal, that would be great to have as well. So once you have all your things gathered, all right. Excuse me, my allergies are horrible right now. Whew, all right. So we're going to begin with our first piece of paper. And something round. Let me tilt my camera down a little bit. So we're going to begin by taking our round object and tracing it in the center of our page. So any kind of circle that you can make there with your round object. And then we're going to begin with some making. So before we put anything else on our page, I wanted to give the caveat that what we're going to be doing here today is really about just expressing ourselves. It's really not about what it looks like. We try to let go of perfection, excuse me, let go of detail in the sense of like it needing to be just so. See if we can really let go and just let what needs to come out, which can be pretty difficult when we think about maybe some of the messages that we've gotten in art classes in the past, or even some of the self-critical talk that we may have experienced. We're making anything. We might see something online, like on Pinterest, and think, I want mine to look exactly like that. And that puts a lot of pressure on us and can really hinder our ability to fully express ourselves. So my offering for you today is from this moment on to try to let go of that, to try to just be present with whatever comes through. Even if it doesn't look exactly like how you had it in your head, there might be something really interesting and beautiful that can come through with exactly how it is. Something I often say in my sessions is no mistakes, just new directions. So that is my invitation for you today. So with that out there, also, I don't know if you can see behind me, but there's some posters in the back. And that green one in the middle says, trust the process. And that's a really important message that we keep in our minds as we're making art with this expressive intention. To trust that whatever is going to come through is what we need today. Knowing that we can hang it up on our wall when we're done, or we could throw it away. There's no pressure. So with that, for our first drawing activity together, we're just gonna take a second to check in, just to check in. So before we draw, I like to take a deep breath. With my allergies, this might be a challenge, but we'll all do it together. So see if you can take a big breath in through your nose and exhale, sigh out your mouth. Good. And with that sense of grounding and that sense of presence, begin to check in with how you're feeling today. Just noticing. And then you can grab your pen, your pencil, whatever it is that you have, and start to create some sort of image inside your circle to represent how you're feeling right now. I have a few little examples. I'm not going to hold them up long because yours are going to look different than mine. So thinking about how you can use color, shapes, images to show how you're feeling right now. And so with that, the important thing is it's you, it's your experience, your feeling. It could be really symbolic and just shapes and colors, or maybe it's more concrete, like a face or a specific symbol or something in nature that matches how you're feeling. We're gonna take just about 5-ish minutes to work on that together. I'm gonna share a little bit of music so we have some background music to work with. Hopefully it'll let me share. There we go. Okay. Thumbs up if you can hear my music. Able to, or Sammy has a message in the chat if you're listening to music, you can hear it. Okay, beautiful, thank you. About 5 minutes to work on your check-in drawing, just to show how you're feeling right now. I'm trying to focus less on needing to be perfect and more about what it means to you. I'm just seeing in the chat that someone just joined. Welcome. We are getting started with a drawing to show how we are feeling right now. Welcome, I'm glad you're here. We traced a round object on our page and then doing some sort of image to show how we're feeling right now. Still working on mine. We're gonna work on it for a couple more minutes, even if you just joined in. Think about how you can use colors, shapes, lines, symbols to show how you're feeling in this moment. And one of the really important things about this process too is that your paper can hold a lot. Like your paper isn't going to talk back to you. So whatever it is that you feel like you need to get out onto the page, it can hold it for us. That's kind of the beauty of it, is that if we have something, you know, that we feel like is we need to get off of our chest or we need to express, this can be a really powerful tool to just get it out, just to let it out. So work for a couple more minutes. All right, so we're finishing touches on this one in the next minute or so. All right. So as you're coming to, even if it's not 100% done, I like to say a comfortable pause for now with your check-in drawing is what I like to call these, checking in with how you're feeling. Take a second to look at what you created. I'll show you mine. I know I can't see yours, but I'll show you mine. And I would say for me, kind of feeling good, feeling happy, a little frustrated because of the allergies, but that's sort of out of my control to an extent with what's going on in the air. So just trying to get through it and focus on things that are good and exciting, like doing this webinar with you all. And also too, just as I was working, I was thinking too, how there aren't a lot of words that capture feeling happy and kind of annoyed all at the same time, but my art can capture that. And that's also another really powerful way that we can use the art to capture things that we're feeling, things that we've experienced in a way that words might not do justice. Yes, even though I cannot see your artwork, I would love if you could either type in the chat about what you drew, or even if you don't necessarily want to say what you drew or how you're feeling, what the experience was like for you. How did it feel to take how you're feeling and give it some form, give it an image? So if you could type that in the chat, I would love to hear about your experience. And also too, if you don't want to share that too, also what kind of materials you're using today. That would also be good to know. Feel free to type it in the chat, what you created, a little bit about it. Some words in different colors, nice. Yeah, so I said images. I'm a big fan. I'm going to offer you some prompts and I'm going to encourage imagery, but you do what you need to do. Ooh. I like giving it form and color. Feeling stressed, like a weight off. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. Ooh, I love that. Someone wrote about how connections with others and illustrated that with a heart and a heart with little hearts around it, showing that connections from others can help keep out the bad. Yeah, how important that is to connect with other people and help us feel a little bit less alone. Ooh. Yes, that idea of capturing the anxiety with the dark colors and the stars, but also honoring that light that's starting to break through. It's really beautiful. Yeah, oftentimes we're not feeling it's rare that we're ever feeling just one feeling at the same time. Sometimes it should. We kind of have like that pure experience, but oftentimes our human experience is really complex and layered. So it makes a lot of sense to have these different symbols and feelings and images that are coming through. I love that I'm hearing people are honoring their anxiety and honoring some of those heavier emotions and feelings in the same image and in the same breath as the beauty of nature and peace in nature, serenity, calm, connection. It's both and. I like that people are honoring that. That's really powerful. Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing. Someone said it felt really awkward. Thank you for sharing that too. That's also, a very common experience. If this is not our normal way of expressing ourselves, this can be a really kind of hard thing to tap into for the first time. It might feel a little bit off and we might second guess ourselves, or maybe we haven't used crayons or colored pencils in years to do something like this. And so it can take some warming up. And also too, a big thing why I'm so impressed with the Summer Resilience series is that it's introducing you to a ton of different coping mechanisms. And the truth is that not everything works for everyone. So having these tools to expose yourself to different ways of expressing yourself, of managing anxiety, of managing stress, having all these different tools and knowledge of these different approaches can help us tap into the ones that work best for us when we need them. Feeling loved and supported and a little annoyed. Nice. Uncertainty. Yeah. Awesome. These are great. I'm visualizing them. It never quite does it justice to like the incredible art that people create, but it's actually kind of fun to also kind of picture it in my head too. If you want, I think you might be able to take a picture and post it in the chat, possibly. That'd be cool. But yeah, all right. So we're going to move on. So we can take this and we're going to set this aside. We might use the back of it later or maybe another piece of paper, but we will grab a fresh sheet if you have one. So fresh sheet of paper. And then whatever it is that you're using to draw with, I'm gonna grab a pen. Actually, no, I'm gonna grab a marker for this. And what we're going to be creating now is our second kind of like main event activity that we'll be doing together. And I call this one, what do I need? What can I give? And we're going to take some time to reflect on what are our current emotional needs, physical needs, social needs, general everyday today needs. And then also thinking about what can I give? What are the unique strengths, qualities, skills, tools that you possess that you can give and share to your community, to yourself, to your family, to your friends, the people around you? What can you give? When Erin had told me about the prompt of resilience, that idea of bouncing back after something challenging and difficult, we need to both have our needs met in order to bounce back and also be able to share our gifts. A lot of times our resilience and our ability to grow and overcome challenges also comes from our ability to connect with others, to give back, to share our strengths, and to feel a sense of meaning and purpose. And that might be like a really big gesture, such as like, I don't know, organizing a huge event like this even. Like, this is huge. This is awesome. So maybe it's something really big and grand, or maybe it's like calling your friend to check in on how they're doing. Or maybe it's getting out of bed that day. So it can be really small things that can add up to bigger things over time. So I want us to think about that. And I'm going to show you my example here. So this is our example. I don't like to hold it up for too long, again, because yours is going to be totally different than mine. We're going to use our hands as a frame for illustrating these different ideas. So what do I need? Might be flipped backwards text-wise, but what do I need? What can I give? So thinking about how, it says the video is frozen. Hopefully you can still see me okay. For this one, thinking about how we can use colors, symbols, shapes to show the different things about what do you need. And then on the other hand, what can I give? Colors, symbols, shapes, illustrations to show what can you uniquely give. All right, so what we'll do to get us started, I'm going to keep walking us through, talking us through, is we're going to trace our hands. So we're going to bring both of our hands onto our paper. Use our marker. If you have Sharpies, you might get Sharpie on your skin. So if you have a pencil, maybe use that for this part of it. We're going to just trace both of our hands on our page. It's okay if it's not perfect again. Sometimes they're a little wonky. That's fine. Yeah, you tend to get like a little ring around your fingers if you're using a marker. So just be mindful of that. There we go. So I got my two hands. And if you'd like, you can write on top of them so you remember what do I need? What can I give? So my invitation for all of us is to start on the what do I need hand. So kind of like how we took the time to think about how we're feeling. Again, taking this moment here before we even put any more marker, crayon, whatever to the page, to think about what do you need in this moment? Whether that's today, Tuesday afternoon, or just kind of in general right now. What are some things that you need to maintain a sense of connection to others, to feel okay and feel, okay physically, to support yourself mentally, emotionally, socially? How do you cope best with challenges? What are some tools that you use that you need to help support yourself? So those are some prompts to think about, and think about how you can turn those into images. So maybe I saw some beautiful symbolism that people use of like hearts connecting and water and so many different things I saw in here. I'm gonna look back at some lakeside scenes, some stars. I heard a lot of nature-based images. So that's a really, really beautiful way to tap into symbolism and imagery for ourselves. But even too, something I like to say to people is, even if you're just thinking about color, like maybe you think about, I need to eat healthy, whatever that means to you. That's a whole other conversation, but I need to eat healthy. What does that mean to you? What color do you associate with that? Maybe you think about what your favorite food is, and you can use that color to symbolize that. So you could do something to fill like individual fingers. You could do different symbols in the hand. There's really no rules in the sense of how you approach this. I'm here just to offer kind of a framework, and then this is where you get to use your creative intuition, your creative intelligence to fill it in how it makes sense for you. But within that idea, that prompt that I'm offering is, what do I need? So that's where we're going to start on the what do I need hand. We'll spend some time working on that, and then I'll offer in a time to switch over to the what can I give hand. Sound good? Okay. So again, you can grab whatever art materials that you have and begin to fill in your first hand. What do I need? Seeing if you can add in as much color detail that feels okay for you today. So I'm gonna have this here so you can kind of see me working. I think I'm gonna use my oil pastels today. Whatever you have is perfect. Even if you just have like a pencil or a pen, think about how you can use line and shape to add detail and to add dimension to what you're trying to express here. Maybe think about what types of lines represent different things for you. Maybe fast, close together lines represent one thing, and slow or wavier lines represent something else. So you find your way to express yourself. Again, there's no wrong answers. You can't mess this up. So I'm gonna put on some music again, so we have some background music as we work, and feel free to get started filling in your hand. My invitation for you is to use imagery and how you can use color and shape. But if words would feel better for you and like you need to use words, go for that. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to type them in the chat. If you're feeling stuck on something, I can help kind of brainstorm. We can really go back and forth, but video and chat brainstorm about some other ways to approach something. Oh, what do you need? And as you're working, paying attention to that, what messages are coming through to you, like your inner voice, like is it a kind voice, is it a critical voice? Seeing if we can invite in some gentleness, kindness towards ourselves as we're working today. And as we reflect on this year too, a lot of, maybe our needs around connecting with others and seeing people maybe that we haven't seen in some time, that still might be something that feels kind of out of reach right now. So even if it's not something that we can act on or get that need fulfilled right away, just honoring it for ourselves, just giving it some space on the page. Like, I need this. And even if it feels kind of painful and heavy that that need isn't able to be met right now, seeing if you can honor that on the page too, for yourself and for, for your needs as a whole. So just see if there's anything like that too that needs to come through. Again, if you're feeling stuck, my suggestion is always to, go with color. And if you don't have any color to work with, think about a pattern. What types of patterns could be used to symbolize something for yourself? I've been asked a few times, like, I need my dog, but I can't draw my dog. You probably could draw your dog, but if that's not something that you feel like you want to challenge yourself with right now, how else could you symbolize a dog? Think about some other ways you could do it. Maybe your paw print, or their favorite toy, or something that you like to do with your dog. Thinking about some other ways to creatively express what you're trying to get across. All right, we'll work on this hand a bit longer. A couple more moments. You can switch it up too. Like maybe on one hand you want to do markers, and on the other hand you want to do colored pencils or whatever materials you have. Feel free to combine using crayons in the color of my dog's coat. Perfect. That's a perfect suggestion. Thank you. That's great. And as you're coming to a comfortable pause on this hand, noticing how it felt to focus on these different things. There's no right answer for that either. And your last few touches on this hand, shade in a little color on mine. All right. So once you're done with your what do I need hand, we'll start to transition to our other hand, what can I give? So my offering for this one is to think about for yourself, what are some unique strengths that you possess? What skills do you have? What tools do you have at your disposal that you can give to others? So a lot of times when we're feeling stuck and we're feeling a challenge to like move forward, sometimes getting outside of ourselves and sharing our gifts with others can be a really powerful way to help us get past some of that resistance. When we kind of get out of our own way, we're focusing on someone and something else. And that can be a really powerful way for help us to connect with others, to get some of our needs met inadvertently, even without necessarily trying to. But thinking about for yourself, what can you give? So even I like to think about like if your best friend were to describe you and why you're awesome, how would they describe you? Maybe you're a good listener, or you have kindness to share, or you are really creative and good at solving problems. Maybe you have a truck and you can help share your truck to help someone move things. Like it could be really simple and kind of, you know, something that we might not think about all the time as like a strength or something we can give, but noticing how when we've given in the past, how that makes us feel. So that's my offering for this next hand. Symbols, colors, shapes, words if you need to show what can you give. And again, if you have questions or feel stuck, feel free to type it in the chat or let us know how it's going in the chat. We'll move on to the next hand. You think about too what you give like through your work, like maybe your profession in terms of how you give back that way, but also how you give interpersonally with your friends, with your family, with your neighbors and your community.
I see that, Joanne, you have your hand raised. If you want to unmute yourself, you can ask a question.
If you have a question, Joanne?
I know sometimes we can inadvertently raise our hand. So if that's the case, just go, I'm going to go ahead and move back. But if you, if you do have a question, again, just go ahead and raise your hand for us. Thanks so much.
And I'm thinking too, when we think back of like the early moments of the pandemic and what that kind of required of us in terms of how we can give back in small or big ways, like even just like reaching out to friends or checking in on neighbors. Like think about even ways that we gave back then too.
Taylor, there's a great question in the chat that I'd like to pose and share with everyone. And they say, what if I'm not feeling positive at all and all I feel like putting down is dark and negative?
So my answer to that is thank you for sharing that, first of all, and your willingness to share. And that's okay. You know, it's okay if you're not feeling positive at all today. This isn't necessarily about faking it or forcing ourselves to feel positive, to just honor what is. And in terms of like, what do you need? Like when you're feeling that heaviness and that negativity, what do you need? Not even necessarily to feel happy. Sometimes that's like a goal that doesn't really resonate with people, but just to feel okay and to feel more balanced and to feel like we can get through the day. What are some things that you need in that sense? It might be like to drink a lot of water. It might be to make sure we get enough rest. It might not be like go to a concert with our friends. That might not make sense for us. So find what does make sense for you in this moment and just honoring where you are and how you're feeling right now. And in terms of what can I give when we're feeling kind of negative and dark, that makes a lot of sense that would be kind of difficult to tap into. But even if you reflect back on a time when maybe things did feel a little bit lighter or things felt a little bit smoother or easier, what were some ways that you did like to give back and connect with others? And just honoring that it might not be where you're at right now, but knowing that that's a possibility for us down the line. That's also a way to just honor what's going on. And there's no need to force or fake. I hope that makes sense. And if that didn't really touch it, feel free to let me know too.
Someone else shared, I'm finding that many of mine are the same in both hands.
Yes, I was going to address it. That's often a thing, that a lot of what we need is also what we can give. And what I also find really interesting too is that it's pretty hard to give from an empty cup. So it's pretty hard to give our time and our energy if we feel like we don't have enough time and we don't have enough energy for ourselves. So it tends to highlight like the importance of getting our own needs met to the extent of like, you know, feeling safe, feeling connected, feeling that sense of wholeness and support from those around us and from just the world around us. That way we can give more fully to our communities, to the people that need us. Like I said, it's kind of hard to pour from an empty cup. So making sure that we are honoring our needs, that way we can give with more robustness, more presence, more fulfillment. And that way we can really support others too.
Another attendee shared earlier, just a statement that this activity is reminding me of how many things that I love to do and that help me to stay balanced.
I love that. Yeah, so I love that it's a reminder. So that is a lot of what I talk about in session, that a lot of what we make here in an art therapy session or in an expressive art session can serve as a visual reminder. So a lot of times if we're like, even when we're journaling, we might like journal something that's really powerful, but then we kind of put it away, tuck it away, and then it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But something like this that we're working on for extended periods of time and that maybe we keep out and we can connect back to more easily can serve as that reminder of like, oh yeah, I know that I need to like get a good night's sleep every night and I'm gonna make that a priority. Or I know that I can give like a listening ear and that helps me feel good. So maybe I'll call my friend that I haven't talked to in a few months. So things like that, like noticing the similarities and also noticing what it brings up for you as like a reminder, like, oh yeah, that is important. Those are awesome, awesome comments, everyone. So we'll work on this for a little bit longer. Again, as you're working on this hand too, like the what can I give hand, noticing how this feels. Maybe thinking about too, like some things that you give that you don't always give yourself credit for giving. Thinking about all the different roles that we have, maybe as, you know, siblings, partners, parents, co-workers, thinking about all the different ways that we give back in all these different spaces. And just honoring that for ourselves, that, you know, you have a lot of strength and you bring unique gifts and strengths and talents to those spaces that no one besides you could bring. A fair question about my tattoos. Yes, all my tattoos have a lot of meaning and symbolism. As an art therapist, I'd be remiss not to have things on I put on my body have some meaning. But the main ones that you can see, these are actually a yin and yang abstraction about the importance and reminder that I often need to find balance and to check in with myself to make sure that I am finding that balance between that yang energy of output and that yin energy of receiving and rest. There's a whole bunch of me. Thank you all for joining us. Some people had to take off, so I just gratitude for showing up and for making this time for yourself if you do have to leave. We'll pause in like about a minute or two, even if it's not 100% done, just to kind of give some time to answer a few questions and share. As you're putting in your final touches, just to share a little bit too, that, you know, if, you know, seeing an art therapist isn't something that's like accessible to you, or, you know, not necessarily something that fits for your schedule or your life right now, in terms of using art as a whole to express ourselves and to help with our mental health, carving out the time just to do anything that's expressive. A lot of times I say too, like we often downplay the ways that we're creative in our life, whether that's baking, cooking, gardening, playing with our children, you know, having meaningful conversations, journaling, writing, playing music, whatever it is that you do to express yourself is amazing. And just noticing too, if there's any way that to carve out more time for that in your week, in your day. A lot of times what I hear from clients is like, oh, I don't have the time, or I don't want to make the mess. I get that. I fully get that. And so having, you know, even if you just look at your schedule and see, okay, where can I give myself 30 minutes just to do something creative for myself and just see how that feels. And I see someone too that they just said that they might get out their art box and canvas week. And thank you so much for sharing that. I also find too that creativity begets creativity. A lot of times we start making something and then we get all these other ideas for other things that we want to make, and we get inspired and we get that spark to like keep making things, because it's a really powerful way to, you know, tap into what's going on internally. And also that idea of bringing something new into being. Like this paper was blank when we started and now it has all these different things on it. and that didn't exist if I didn't take the time to do that. And so it could be something dynamic like this, or even just like little doodles in our planner, whatever it is, just honoring that for ourselves. And there's lots of other tools too to tap into like creative expression that are like more meditative. If you want to look up Zentangles is also a really meditative way to draw and just kind of feel that sense of peacefulness while you're drawing something with some structure. So there's some other ideas of how to bring that in. And yeah, really just like anything, and just trying to bring in that gentle voice and that compassionate voice as we're making, to help us not be too hard on ourselves and not feel the need that it has to look like someone else's or look like how it looks on Pinterest or Instagram or whatever. The way you uniquely express yourself is such a gift and so incredible, and no one else could do it that way. And that's something really important to remember. So with our last 5 minutes, I would love to, if anyone wants to talk about or share in the chat, like what that experience was like for you. Some of you have, or even like as you look at your hands, again, too, noticing if there's any similarities, noticing if there's any differences. And I think someone else had said a few things. Finding myself having more things to give than need. Yeah. And that's really a powerful thing to recognize too. And like, maybe more things that we need might pop up on a different day. Like some days might be harder and we need more than we can give, and that's okay too. So like today, that's beautiful that you're seeing all these things that you can give. That's amazing. And so just also notice too how it feels to actually act on that and see what else comes from that awareness. Someone said, everyone's creative, please let it flow. Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Stan, for saying that too. And flow is such a powerful benefit of art making, whether it's in art therapy and an art class or whatever. This idea of flow, which you may have experienced before, where you kind of lose track of time, lose track of like what's going on. You're just so immersed in what you're doing. That's a really therapeutic state for our brain to be in. It helps lower our cortisol levels, helps balance our nervous system. So that feeling of just being fully present in what we're doing, even if it's just for a little bit, can be a really powerful healing experience for our system. So does anyone have any questions about art therapy or want to ask anything else about what we did today? Yes, Nancy, that's a really great point of doing the circle and the two handprints. So I do that. I always start out every single session with that circle drawing, and that idea of using the circle and the hands, you really tapped into something that I was getting at there, is it breaks up the page. It can help it feel a lot less overwhelming. So that's a really good thing that you noticed too, that if like getting out a sketchbook feels like too much, like giving yourself a template to work on. Thank you all for sharing what you included.
As questions are coming through, I just wanted to be able to share with you Taylor's contact information, as well as their website for you to take down in case you had questions in the future.
Yes, feel free to email us, check out our website. If this was at all interesting to you and you're interested in art therapy as more of a private or group experience, feel free to reach out. Again, we are in Bloomfield Hills, but we do offer virtual sessions as well. Again, I just typed in the chat that it's called Zentangle, the meditative drawing technique. There's a lot of resources online. Another really good one I'm gonna type in too. There's some videos of this on YouTube. It's called Neurographica. It's really cool, but it's another meditative drawing technique. Yeah, and if anyone, even if you don't have a question now, but something comes up, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to connect about the process and about what art therapy is and what it can look like. And again, if this was beneficial, I really do encourage you to keep, creating, keep taking the time to make things and to share, even if it's just with yourself, and see what comes through and see if there's more awareness or more clarity that comes from the process. And yeah, it was really, really beautiful to spend time with you all this afternoon. I'm really grateful to connect with you all.
Taylor, thank you so much. As comments are coming through the chat, I can just share and know that this has just been a really great experience. And as someone that is not feeling artistic or really ever, this has just been a really great intro for me as well. So again, thank you so much. Just as we wrap and we're concluding, I wanted to share that, again, this is week 2 of 8 weeks of our Summer Resilience series. Our upcoming sessions are listed here on this slide. Registration is open for all of them. Please feel free to register. If you're not able to attend during that time, that's okay. Don't worry about that. These were all being recorded, and we'll be able to, you'll be able to view them at a later time on our website, which is again, michigan.gov/stay well. It looks like there were a few other things that came through in the chat, so we just want to check those out before we all sign off for this afternoon. Looks like just many thanks that are coming through. Lots of gratitude to you, Taylor, today for sharing this experience with us. If there aren't any further questions, just on behalf of the Stay Well Grant team, really, we all want to wish you to be well and to stay well. Thank you so much for joining today. We hope to see you at our remaining sessions that are upcoming. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.